Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It is Vinky here today with the request. Somebody did request this. So we just finished up with the Aesop fragrances. I still need to do Ouranon. I'm getting to that one. I didn't even realize it. I know, I didn't even realize I missed that one. But there's one that's recently been discontinued. Now you may be able to still find this in Aesop. My friend works there. He works in management, and he basically said that they're still in some stores, but they're going away. So if you want them, go get them now. It is not coming back. But yeah, so he had a bottle and he let me borrow it. But I won't call you out. Somebody online requested this and asked if I would do a review, and I said, heck yeah. So we'll probably do this as an extra video on Sunday. This one is Ouranon, and it is out of stock online. They still do have it in stores, and some of them, I know in his, I think they have 1 or 2 left. And it's a fragrance with opening notes of sparkling citrus and aromatic herbaceous heart softened by warm resinous accords and a mineral earthiness. Sounds lovely. So it's $200, and it looks like the aroma is woody, spicy, resinous, and suited all gender, sages, connoisseurs, and topographers. There you go. Key ingredients: frankincense, hay, and myrrh. Sounds nice. So, top notes are petitgrain, elemi, I love elemi, lavender flower, middle note, hay, chamomile, frankincense. Hay and chamomile is lovely. And base notes are myrrh, tonka, and patchouli. So this one is going to, it's interesting because the frankincense with the myrrh and the patchouli, you know you're going to get a fragrance bomb there. But what's interesting is the hay and the chamomile and the elemi is just so delicate and beautiful and sweet. So it's contrasting. I don't know if I've ever, he always tries on different fragrances from the company to sell them when he's at work. So I'm wondering, I haven't smelled this one before. No, this one's strong. Oh, wow. So this is perfect for this time of year, but let's give it a shot. So 2 here and 2 here. I won't do it on the paper. I'm doing that for 2026 more, but because this one's out of stock, we'll make it a little bit more simple. 1, 2. My poor kitty, I don't want it on her. There you go. Yep, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. Whew. Wow. You know what, I totally immediately get a Gothic church. I know that's that myrrh and frankincense coming through. Yeah. Ooh. And not in a bad way. Even the patchouli. Very much like a Gothic church in Europe. Sometimes there's the smell. This is exactly what it smells like. Ooh. That guy needs a doctor. My goodness. Anyway, I don't know if that came up or not, but ooh. So this is very strong, which we knew it would be. This was not going to be a gentle scent. Now, this is interesting because from my understanding, this came out around the same time that Gloam did, or not the same time. They space them out like 2 or 3 a year. But I do remember, I'll have to look, but I think Gloam came first, or this one came first and then Gloam. And I will say, Gloam is not necessarily my favorite fragrance of the group. Excuse me. And I'm kind of surprised that this one was discontinued, actually. It's very strong. It's very strong. It is out there. This is not, I feel like a lot of Aesop's fragrances tend to be a little bit more contained, except for like Odysseus. Or Marrakesh, that one's a little bit more bold, but I feel like for the most part they tend to have a little bit of a gentler hand. I don't feel like they are overpowering. This one is definitely right up there with the Odysseus. This one is actually kind of similar to Marrakesh, not similar, but I can see it's going for that same kind of vibe a little bit, but this one definitely is more churchy, while that is more of a spice market, which Marrakesh. So definitely, if you've been to Gothic church, you know this smell. It's strong. This one is definitely strong, which isn't a bad thing. I think for winter, This would be perfect. I'm really kind of surprised they discontinued this one. I hate to say it. If you love Gloam, that's amazing. I don't care for Gloam. It just is not. You can watch the footage. It takes me to a place I don't want to go. I feel like if anything was going to be discontinued, I was really surprised Gloam survived, but it may do better than I think it does. Just because it doesn't work on me doesn't mean it doesn't work on the masses. So that's something to take into consideration. But I just feel like this one's a little bit of a safer fragrance that would do well, especially in winter. It's very churchy, but right now I'm starting to get the LME, starting to get some of those sweet accords coming through. So it's not just the Gothic church. It's more of a sweetness coming through. It's the LME. I love it so much. Oh, it's so good. So you have this heaviness, and then the LME is floating above it. It's like a Gothic church to me. It's like a little bit. It's like, here's the heavy notes, and then here's the heavens, if you want to look at it that way. But, I mean, maybe go, what? But there you go. Ooh, let's try it on the wrist. Definitely getting that smokiness of the myrrh, the frankincense. With the little, whoa, that patchouli, definitely. It's those three. So on me, I'm not getting too much of the sweetness via my chemistry. It's probably on the shirt, but let's check it out. Yep, more so. So you do get that heaviness of the really three powerhouses just going 1, 2, 3. And, but in a good way, in a loving way, not a violent, horrible way. I know, I always do that and I'm like, nobody wants that. But it's interesting because you definitely get those three, but when you're sitting here, the LME is just gently, like, it's, and then the LME is gently just floating. This is lovely. And I normally don't like scents like this. No, I don't. They're a little bit too heavy for me. It's just not my profile. It's not that I don't respect them. It's just not my profile. I love to smell them when I go into Gothic churches. I love it. But I don't necessarily want to smell like that. But it takes me to a really interesting place. But this is good. I'm really surprised this was discontinued. Okay. I guess people didn't want to smell like a Gothic church either. But I mean, I think it's lovely. And I've smelled a lot of those type of scents. And I actually think that this one would probably be one of my favorites because of that sweetness of the LME. It's so beautiful. Not really getting that. Oh, the hay and chamomile. That's interesting because I do get that sweetness, and if you look for it, you will get that hay. I think this one's really great. So strange. I'm going to ask him what's going on. I need the inside scoop. So what we're going to do is we're going to check back in an hour. I think this one will still be going strong, but I really like this one, and I probably can't get a bottle anymore. It's too bad. I don't know if I'd pay that much, though. It's pretty expensive, and I wouldn't really wear it that much. But dang, that's good. But let's check back in an hour and see where this one goes. Okay, so it has been an hour, and this one is really nice. It's not as heavy as it was when it initially went on. It really does mellow out after the hour, and it actually becomes something quite gentle. Not gentle. Okay, let's not get that crazy. But it definitely mellows out to where it's a lot more wearable. I think the first 30 minutes, it's like, oh wow. And then after that, it actually becomes something really nice. You can still smell the myrrh. You can still smell the patchouli, the frankincense, but it's dulled a little bit because you do get that sweetness of the hay coming through, of the LME, which is just, oh, I love it. It's so warm and cozy. But let's try it on the wrist. Yeah, definitely get that frankincense and myrrh with the patchouli. It's like, they're all like this, but I mean, I tie those three together anyway, and they just combine so beautifully. There's a little bit of a bitter note in there, but my body tends to pull those notes, so sometimes even if they're not really there, or if there's just the slightest bit, my body likes that. So I do get a little bit but you really got to be looking for it. I mean, you have to have your nose there. And again, your chemistry may not work like mine. So there you go. But let's try it here on the shirt. Interesting. On the shirt, I get a little bit more of that bitter note too. It's not just my chemistry. So you get those three, that frankincense, that you really, for me, it's mostly myrrh. No, myrrh, frankincense with the hum of the patchouli underneath. It really is. And even here you get that on the shirt, but there's a little bit of a bitterness, and it's almost like then there's this little hum of the sweetness. I don't get the florals though. I know that there was florals in their lavender flower. Yeah, I guess if you were looking for it, or you had like this amazing nose, or your body leans to lavender scents, then you would be able to pull this out. Maybe I can smell it if I'm looking for it. But I mean, it's like going into an old closet and you're digging and you're like, that's what it's like, because the myrrh and the frankincense and the patchouli are just, they're covering it. It's a needle in a haystack for me, but I don't really see it as a lavender base so much, but I don't know. It may come out differently if lavender comes out on you or you really have a nose for it. And I know lavender really well, but it's just not. No, the other ones are really covering it. But I love the heaviness of the other notes and then the lightness of the hay. And you do get a little bit of the chamomile too. So that hay and chamomile and the elemi, it's heavy. Not as heavy, but heavy with this very light around it. Very interesting, this one. It didn't stay as strong as I expected, though. It really was a powerhouse. It's still really, before it was like, whoa. Now it's more contained, but it's not overwhelming like it kind of was before. This one's actually nice, I think. So I'm really kind of surprised that this one didn't do so well. Maybe I do think that, like I said, these scents tend to be a little bit more difficult. For me, I call them churchy. I'm obsessed with Gothic churches. There's never one I haven't, I will always say hi. I'm in Europe. I will never turn my nose to a Gothic church. It's my favorite architecture. So I adore it, and I love staring at the intricateness of it. And this is the scent that goes with that. But it's just, as it wears on, you get more of those sweet notes coming through. And I really like that, actually. And like I said, I'm not a huge fan of these type of scents normally on me. But this one's really lovely, especially this time of year. So I'm curious to see where this goes in 4 hours. It'll be dark when I see you next because I got a little bit of a late start. But I'm curious to see where this one goes. Okay, so it has been 5 hours. We made it. And I can definitely still smell this one. Not nearly as powerful as it was before, but that's okay. It's definitely still in this pocket, though. Still getting this scent. I think it's difficult for this one to wear away quickly because of the strong notes that are with it. But definitely still getting kind of that churchy vibe, at least on my nose. Getting that myrrh, getting that frankincense. Still that little bit of hum of patchouli, can't talk right now. And still getting those three. Again, still getting a little bit of that lightness from the elemi. The sweetness of the hay. It didn't really morph too much since the 1 hour mark, which is totally fine, at least in the grand scheme of things. I haven't been sniffing my wrist, but let's check it out. Yeah, still that spiciness of the myrrh, the frankincense. Don't really get as much of the patchouli anymore, with a little bit of sweetness. So very interesting. Okay, let's try it on the shirt. Interesting. On the shirt, it's the same thing. It's that myrrh, frankincense, and a little hint of the patchouli as well, but there's more of a sweetness there, which I think is the elemi and the hay. Not getting the chamomile so much anymore. That's kind of disappeared a little bit. Like I said, I never really got any of the florals that it mentioned. Very interesting, this one. Again, it just reminds me of Gothic churches. It really does, which I like. I like a lot. But it doesn't really, once it's on, it doesn't really morph too much. Very interesting. I didn't know what to expect. And when I borrowed this from my friend, I was like, what was the problem? And he goes, well, I don't really know, but it was a very strong scent, and strong frankincense and myrrh. And I went, oh, okay. And then I didn't think about it till later. And he was like, it's a lot for some people. I think maybe Marrakesh, which is very popular, is just a little bit more, I don't know. Maybe it's not quite as bold as this one. And I do consider that one bold, but maybe it's just not as bold with the three biggies. The frankincense, myrrh, and patchouli are really, they're hard hitters. They're heavy hitters. So I kind of, if you don't really care for the scents, this one is going to be difficult. Again, those are not the scent profiles I go for, but I actually didn't mind it that much. I actually didn't. And I normally tend to go, with those, just because it's not a scent profile I go for. But I actually didn't mind this one. I thought it was really nice. So I am kind of surprised that it was discontinued a little bit, because it really wasn't that old. I think it was released, 2 years ago maybe? Around the same year I think that Gloam was. I really do. And I think of the two, and this is just personal preference. I know that with any fragrance channel, it's personal preference a lot of the time. But different notes will come out in different people. Our noses work differently, so I just feel of the two. And if you love Gloam, again, Gloam and I were not best friends. I just feel like this was the better scent of the two. I can still smell it now. It really does take me back to Europe. when I would go hit up all those Gothic churches, and I would sit there for like an hour, and my friends are like, can we go? I'm like, no, we're staying Vitas longer. It's like, no. So there you go. I tried to see Notre Dame, but it had the fire at that point. I was 2 weeks away from going there. 2 weeks. And then it burnt down. I was like, no. My friends and I were like so excited. I'd never been. And so that was I guess gotta go back when it's fixed. Though, I'm glad they're restoring it, but it's a little bit different than seeing the original structure. It's craziness. But tangent. But this is what it reminds me of. It really does take me into those spaces. So I actually really like this one. I would say, we're not going to get too much into it because it is discontinued, that I do see this one being more, a lot of people would view it probably more masculine with those notes. I say phooey, wear what you want, always. I wouldn't mind wearing it. I also think this would do better in late fall, winter. This is definitely a statement piece, and I cannot imagine it in summer. It would be a lot. But you wear what you want when you want. I mean, really, it's your business. So there you go. But I do think that this one, because of the heaviness and the notes, would do really well in winter. But I really like it. So if I were going to give it a rating, it's tough because this isn't really my note profile. I don't know. Part of me just says 7. 7 keeps popping into my head. And I'm okay with that, even though I really don't normally care for these notes. For some reason, I like it. I like the gentleness, the heaviness of it. If you look at it from a Gothic church, which is predominantly Catholic, it's that heaviness of those scents, and then the lightness. You could take it into that, whatever interpretation it means to you. That's what it reminds me of, because it does take me to Gothic churches. So that's why it's just like, and then above. Yeah, I think it's really cool. It's just such a contrast. It's almost like there's heavy and light, there's no middle. So it's very interesting. But yeah, I'm kind of sad. It was discontinued, but apparently it just didn't sell too well. So I understand why you're not going to keep it if you don't sell it. But that being said, there should be some bottles here and there in Aesop if you're interested. So you may want to go check it out, because it's basically almost completely gone. Gone off site and out of most stores. So it's going to be a tough one to find. But I hope that's helpful. So yes, with that, have a fabulous day, my friends. Bye.